morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is John Wright, and I'm the Community Relations Director for Hardin County Schools. And on behalf of the students and staff of this district, thank you so much for everything that you have done, both in your academic career while you enrolled here at Hardin County Schools and everything that you've done since then. You have done, our honorees and all of our guests have gone on to do some amazing things. We welcome you today to the Hardin County Schools Early College and Career Center. This is an amazing facility that's about 10 years old, and it houses several career pathways, and it also houses the early college portion of it. Students can get their associate's degree while taking classes here. Their junior year is spent here. That's their freshman year of college. Their senior year / sophomore year of college is spent at Elizabethtown Community and Technical College, right down the hill, so to speak. And so it was a wonderful gift from Western Kentucky University and the Central Kentucky Community Foundation. If you'd like to take a tour afterwards, please let me know. We'll take you around and show you how students are learning a little bit differently than our honorees learned when they were in school, but it's an amazing facility. Like we said, it's home to several pathways. Students in Hardin County Schools receive instruction here in health science, engineering, automotive technology, welding, IT, culinary arts, multimedia production, construction management, and aeronautics. They also use it as a conduit, like we said, to earn college credit and to get their associate's degree. I would also like to welcome some special people here today, some members of our Board of Education. Mr. Mark Casey, Mr. Ben Seago, and Mr. Steve Bland are here, so welcome. Thank you all for being here. Mr. Mark Wells, Principal at John Hardin High School, is here. Mr. John Stith, our Chief Operations Officer, is here, and of course we'll hear from Mrs. Morgan later on. So I would like to just thank our honorees again for being here. And I would also like to thank any former or any past distinguished Hardin County Schools distinguished alum. So if you've earned that recognition, if you have received that recognition, but do you mind to please stand so we can honor you, any former Hardin County Schools distinguished alums. So thank you. All right, well, it's time to eat, and our culinary arts pathway students have set this room. They have steamed tablecloths. I watched them. I got here about 8:30 this morning, and it is a process. And it is not just slop some food on a plate and say, here you go. It is a process, and they have learned through this, and it is good food. It is great food. And Chef Ramsey and Chef Lowe do an amazing job with their students. So they're bringing you your food right now to partake of lunch. But first, I'd like to ask Brother Adam Hale from Glendale Christian Church if you'd like to come up and bless our meal, and we'll get started.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
Would you bow and pray with me? Father God, we love you, and we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to gather together here for this facility that you've provided and the work that goes on here to prepare students for life after school. Father, we thank you today that we're able to come together to honor those whom honor is deserved. And so, Father, we pray that you would continue to bless those who are being honored today. And Father, right now we ask that you would bless our food. We thank you for those who have prepared it, and we ask all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. We are going to go ahead and get started and recognize our honorees. But before we do that, if you would, they're back there working, but they'll be able to hear you. Please give a round of applause to our culinary arts students. They did a great job today. Oh, they're coming. Leave there. Yeah, they're okay. Yeah. So when you see them, when they come back out, just thank them if you would. I know that they will truly appreciate that. So they work, like I said, they worked hard and they prepared a truly delicious meal under the guidance of Chef Lowe and Chef Ramsey. And again, if you'd like to take a tour of the facility afterwards, please let us know, and we'll take you around. So Ms. Terry Morgan is our superintendent, and she'll be helping with the awards today. So I'm going to introduce you. And if you would, when we start the introduction, if you would just come up to the podium, Mrs. Morgan will give you your award, and then we'll ask you to come to the podium for your comments. So we'll start off with Miss Robin Fulkerson Boggs. Miss Boggs, please come forward. Let's give her a hand as she comes forward, please. And I'll ask, when we get done here, I'll take a picture with you and Mrs. Morgan, Ms. Boggs. But Robin Fulkerson Boggs graduated from Central Hardin High School in 1997. She is the Deputy Chief of Staff for National Engagement at the National Security Agency, better known as the NSA, and is based in Fort Meade, Maryland. She has served in that capacity since January of this year. Before the transition to her new post, Mrs. Boggs was the Strategic Engagement and Education Lead of the Unauthorized Public Disclosures Program for the NSA. She's also served as a Senior Communications Officer, Chief of the NSA's Director's Communication Team, Acting Chief and Deputy Chief of Workforce Communications, and Deputy Chief of the Strategic Communications Operations Systems Team at the NSA. Mrs. Boggs has worked as the Deputy Career Program Manager for Public Affairs in the Office of the Chief of Public Affairs, headquarters of the Department of the Army at the Pentagon. She's also filled several public affairs positions across the United States Army over nearly 18 years in federal civil service. Even though she lives in Maryland, she is still a member of the American Legion Hardin Post 113 Auxiliary and American Legion Riders. She earned 2 degrees from the University of Kentucky, Western Kentucky University, a bachelor's degree in corporate and organizational communications, and a master's degree in communication. She is a graduate of the Defense Information School in the Department of Defense. Mrs. Boggs also earned a certificate in legislative studies from the Government Affairs Institute at Georgetown University. Please help me welcome Robin Fulkerson Boggs.
Thank you, everyone. It's good to see everyone today. Yes, I'm a communicator, but I don't like being in crowds, so bear with me. So family plus teachers equal belief in myself. My family can attest that I was never good in math, but this equation helped me be the person I am today. I also never liked giving presentations to groups, yet I chose a career in public affairs and communication for more than 15 years. I chose that career to tell important stories. This is one of those stories. This honor is about the amazing faculty and staff of the Hardin County School System who helped me become the person I am today. Those who helped set the foundation for the federal government professional I am, and ensuring the last 18 years of my service was offered in support of the greater good. I grew up having parents who encouraged my sister and me to look things up, learn on our own, and then report back what we learned. My teachers not only appreciated that, but were as enthusiastic with teaching me everything I needed to know for the basics of education and of life alongside my family. That led to a lifelong curiosity of learning for me that I still carry today. And all of that learning had me bursting at the seams to talk a lot, and my elementary school report cards showed that for many years, and Mr. Smith can attest to that. But in all seriousness, my parents and the myriad teachers who made a difference in my life, large or small, they deserve this recognition. As I go up in years for this tribute, it's harder to name everyone once we started switching classes in middle school, but I will do my best. At Lincoln Trail Elementary, 1st through 5th grade, Mrs. French, Mrs. Owen, who calmly talked my 1st grade class through witnessing the Challenger explosion on live television, and later her husband, Mr. Owen. Mrs. Graves, Principal Mike Byers, who taught me not to seek retribution against a wrong against me, even though that boy broke my favorite pencil box. Mrs. Couch, Mrs. Peace, our librarian, Mr. Hamilton, Mrs. Campbell, Mrs. Riney, Mrs. Witten, and of course, Mr. Smith, who probably still has that 2-liter bottle of Pepsi with the mouse in it. At Bluegrass Middle School for 6th through 9th grade, and I'm probably, I think, the only class that went 6th through 9th at Bluegrass Middle, class of 97, Mrs. Hensley, Mrs. Brewer, Senora Conway, who I credit to this day for the little bit of Spanish I still know, Mrs. Drain, Mrs. Savco, Mrs. Lang, Mr. Ritchie, Mrs. Taylor, Mr. Tharp, Mr. Sears, and Ms. Hazelwood, now Mrs. Lewis, who made me dread free throw drills, but was the best coach I ever had. And don't think I forgot about the time capsule they opened at Bluegrass in 2016. I was really upset I couldn't come home for that, but my sister gave me all the details. And then high school is the hardest with so many different teachers as we switch classes constantly. Mrs. Thompson, who I love despite my disdain for reading The Grapes of Wrath. Mr. Thomas, Mr. Kinney, Ms. Highball, who gave junior classmen a chance to go on upperclassmen field trips when we deserved it for overachieving. Lieutenant Colonel Russo, Principal Lewis, Mrs. Lewis's Mr., Mrs. Perry, Mrs. Rambo, and finally, probably my favorite high school teacher of them all, Ms. Judy Legans. Her death nearly a year after I graduated hit me pretty hard. Still does, clearly. She taught me to be hard but compassionate, to be detailed but see the bigger picture. She was truly a treasure. I wish I could name them all, but I'd be here all day. But without my parents, sister, and these amazing teachers and administrators, I never would have believed I could see beyond what was in front of me, or read between the lines to make informed decisions, or even become a parent myself who encouraged my kids to do the research, to dig deeper, to ask why, and really want to know the answer. Helping children succeed. It's not a motto, it's a way of life at HCS. I have childhood friends who teach for Hardin County Schools now. I'm comforted to know that even now the faculty, staff, and admins of the Hardin County school system prop children up to be the best version of themselves. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Ms. Boggs. We appreciate you. All right, Mr. Booher, come on up. Jason Booher. Let's give Jason Booher a hand, please. Jason Booher is a member of the North Hardin High School class of 1992. He is currently the superintendent of Mercer County Schools here in Kentucky. He has served in that role since the beginning of the 21-22 school year. He has dedicated his career as an educator and coach to sharing his testimony about surviving the nation's worst drinking and driving tragedy, the Carrollton bus crash. His presentation is called From Tragedy to Championships, and it aims to inspire young people to achieve their goals despite facing adversity, abuse, dysfunction, or tragedy. He emphasizes that he has never consumed alcohol or experimented with drugs and highlights the fulfillment and joy he has experienced without them. He strongly advocates against drug and alcohol use, stressing that they can derail individuals from accomplishing their aspirations. Mr. Booher's personal experiences serves as a powerful example for young people, demonstrating that even in the face of immense tragedy, one can find strength and pursue a successful and fulfilling life. He encourages students to rise above their circumstances, avoid harmful substances, and focus on their dreams when he shares his story. He's been a part of 11 boys basketball region championships. 2 of those as a player at North Hardin. In 2009, he led Shelby Valley, which is a small high school located in the mountains of eastern Kentucky, to its first All-A Boys state championship. The following year, he led them to another All-A Boys basketball championship, as well as the Kentucky High School Athletic Association Sweet 16 Boys State Championship. This team is the only team in state history to win both the boys state championships, both boys state championships in the same season. He left the sidelines with a 285-97 record, which is 750, which is astonishing as a head coach, which includes 5 region championships and 3 state titles. Mr. Booher is a successful teacher and educational administrator. He's been the math teacher at Corbin, Henry Clay High School, and North Hardin. He served as an assistant principal at Shelby Valley, Belfry High School, and Covington Holmes. After spending 3 years at Pikeville, he left for Harrodsburg, Kentucky, and the superintendent's position at Mercer County. He holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Kentucky. He has earned a master's in rank 1 in certification and superintendent certification and director of people personnel certification for Morehead State. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Jason Booher.
Thank you, John. Before I get started, I would like to stop and say I'm in a lot of meetings and superintendent meetings around the state of Kentucky, and I serve on some committees and so forth with your all's Hardin County Superintendent Terry Morgan. And I wanted to start this with saying that you all are in great hands. Hardin County is in great hands. You've got the Superintendent of the Year right here. So I just wanted to congratulate her in front of the Hardin County folks, saying she represents you all in a first-class way every meeting I'm in, and that's why she was named the KASA Superintendent of the Year this past year. So congratulations to Terry Morgan and you all. But again, thank you all. I want to say thanks to my dad and stepmom, and my wife's here today, and Wayne and Christy Cox. Wayne and Christy were sitting behind me on the Carrollton bus crash, and they made it off. They were dating then, and they're married now. So they made a long way. And then also we went to college together, and they set me up on I don't do blind dates, but they set me up on my first blind date, and I'm 27 years later, I'm still married to Hillary. So, but anyways, thank you all for them coming as well. But grew up in Radcliffe, and in 1982, some of you all may remember this, I was just 7 or 8 years old, and North Hardin's in the state championship, tied up, timeout's called, we got the ball. We're going to take the ball, much like the Christian Leitner, throw-in pass. We're going to make that pass the length of the floor, tied up, 2 or 3 seconds to go. We're going to turn around and shoot it, and we're going to win the state championship for North Hardin High School. Paul Andrews from Laurel County steps in front of him. He took one dribble, 3 or 4 steps without taking a dribble, and heaves that ball, and the clock goes off, buzzer goes off, and nothing but net. And I'll never forget seeing Coach Bevers it was like his heart was taken out of his chest. I talked to Miss Prophet here. She was there. I think Miss Prophet, a distinguished alumni herself, was the same way. And I knew then at a little age of 7 or 8 years old, in the 2nd grade at Parkway Elementary, that one day I wanted to try to get back and win for Coach Bevers when I get to North Hardin and play. And I just looked up to Robbie Valentine, Brett Burrow, and all them. So go to Parkway Elementary, Radcliffe Middle School, and you're getting old when you're saying schools that aren't even a school here anymore. I mean, Parkway and Radcliffe Middle School. And I get through the middle school, and we're playing, me and Wayne's on all the little teams together, and get to our 8th grade year. And of course, I just watched Richie Farmer and Clay County and Allen Houston and Louisville Ballard battle it out in my 7th and 8th grade year in the state championship games. And that was just exactly what I wanted to do at North Hardin when I got there. And we got there, and I know me and Wayne made it our sophomore and junior years, but we got beat out. So I go to UK, never did get to win the state championship for Coach Bevers and Miss Prophet. And so I got to UK, and they asked me what I wanted to major in, and I really didn't know. But then I started thinking about it. You know what? Since the Carrollton bus crash, and I had to bury my best friend and 26 others, me, Wayne, and Christy were lucky to get out. But since the bus crash, I said, you know what? Coaches and teachers at Hardin County took care of Jason Booher. And I want to give back to young people what those coaches and teachers at North Hardin High School did for me. So that's why I chose to go into education. Also in the back of my mind, I knew if I got into coaching, maybe one day I could win a state championship. So that was another thing as well. But anyways, I climbed the coaching ranks, and like John said, won the small school state championship in 09. In 10, we had everybody back, and won it again in February of 2010. And then I told my team, I said, no team has ever won both of them. The All-A in February, went to Rupp-Arena a month later, and won it again. But just like the percentages were against us after the bus crash of ever making it, because we were at-risk kids because of such a tragic event, I said, let's try to leave our legacy as the best, something that no one's ever done before, and that's win both of them. We'll get 2 big rings for winning the All-A and the Sweet 16 this year. So those guys went and battled it out, went to Rupp-Arena, won 3 games in a row, and got to the state championship, and here we are facing Louisville Ballard. Again, the same team I watched in 7th and 8th grade with Allen Houston, and we beat Louisville Ballard that night on my dad's birthday. Matter of fact, March 20th, 2010, and we're able to cut down the nets. And I tell you that story to tell you this. I went back and coached at North Hardin for a couple of years and got to see the other side of Coach Bevers. I was always on the player side, so, and most of you all just see the player side or the fan side, but I got to know Coach Bevers so much with coaching with him for a couple of years. And when we won that state championship that night on Rupp Arena's floor, he was one of the first ones, if not the first, to come down there. And the smile I saw on Coach Bever's face, it was almost like saying, I never got to win it, but I'm more proud of you winning it than I was ever of being able to have a chance of winning the 82 state championship or any other of the 15 state tournaments he played in. But I just never forget that, and he was so proud of what we accomplished, and he enjoyed that. I know Miss Prophet was there as well, and she came down and gave me a big hug, and of course she handed me a little piece of bubble gum. For those that know, she's always the button. I asked her today, I said, Miss Prophet, did you bring me some bubble gum? She said, I got you that and a pie over here as well. So I appreciate it. I knew she'd have some bubble gum today for me, but I just go around now, and the good Lord's taken care of me throughout my life, especially since the bus crash, and he's given me a huge platform with surviving the bus crash, never tasting alcohol or experiment with drugs, and I'm able to tell thousands of people every year, and then going on to win those state championships, that you can have fun without that stuff, because I've lived it, and I've had as much fun in life than anybody without that stuff, and we're able to accomplish goals and dreams. And I talked to him about you can't do drugs and alcohol and accomplish goals and dreams. And then I also tell people, not just young people, but you all as well, you're never too old to accomplish or to set your goals and dreams and accomplish those. So I challenge each of you, regardless of how old you are, there's still goals and dreams that you can reach each and every day of your life. So I challenge you to keep setting those and trying to accomplish those each and every time. I'll finish up by saying this, it takes a village to raise a child. And it definitely took a village to raise Jason Booher. And I'm just glad part of that village was you all, Hardin County Schools. I know my friends and family. It was definitely a village, and one that I would never go back and change anything throughout my life. So thank you all. It's a great honor to have this, and I'm glad that I could share that this day with you all. Thank you all.
What I was sharing with Jason, if you get a chance to look it up, he runs, it's the Boston Marathon, correct?
Well, the 6 world majors, I've ran 5 of them. I've run Boston, New York, Chicago, Berlin, and London.
No, we appreciate it, Mr. Booher. Thank you. Also, I forgot to share with you, the honorees are also receiving a citation from Senator Matt Deneen, our state senator here in our local district. So you're also receiving that along with the plaque. But our next honoree is Mr. Vincent Holloway. Mr. Holloway, please come forward. Mr. Holloway is a member of the North Hardin High School class of 1980. He is president within Tetra Tech's Federal IT Group. This role culminates over 38 years of leadership and technical experience in the United States Army and Defense Service industry as a senior business and technology executive. Mr. Holloway began his current role at Tetra Tech in 2019. He holds responsibility for strategic planning, business development, and capability development in the Federal IT Group and manages relationships with strategic business partners and senior government officials in the Department of Defense. He works on information technologies, communications, and cyber. He also represents the company in industry councils, associations, and strategic working groups. Mr. Holloway served in the United States Army from 1985 to 2005. Thank you for your service. He held a series of positions with increasing responsibility, including systems engineer, commanding officer, and chief of staff in domestic international locations. As a Signal Corps officer, Mr. Holloway participated in tactical and technical assignments around the world. During his military career, he earned expertise in information technology, law and policy, technical program management, operational testing, telecommunications and network engineering, software acquisition management, and tactical network operations. Mr. Holloway became the Assistant Inspector General for the Department of Defense, for the Defense Information Systems Agency. In 5 years, he directed over 500 investigations involving criminal, administrative, government contract, and military law. During that time, Mr. Holloway oversaw the agency's largest criminal investigation, which resulted in the Department of Justice's successful persecution of individuals and corporations responsible for establishing over $11 million in fraudulent government contracts. Following his 20-year career in the Army, Mr. Holloway joined Booz Allen Hamilton as a project manager and strategic consultant there. His clients included the U.S. Strategic Command, Defense Information Systems Agency, Missile Defense Agency, and several U.S. Army organizations. He remained with Booz Allen Hamilton for 15 years. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Kentucky. He also holds an MBA from Boston University, a Juris Doctor from the American University, and a Master of Laws in Health Law from Hofstra University. Mr. Holloway earned a Distinguished Alumni Award from the UK College of Engineering earlier this year. It's a pleasure to introduce Mr. Vincent Holloway.
So I'm going to try to use some technology here. Here's my speech. John, I will tell you, he did tell us we only had 5 minutes. I'm not going to meet that mark today, I'll tell you. You've heard that I served in the Army. We always trained the standard, not the time, so it's going to be a little longer than that. But I didn't recognize who that guy was you just introduced because, on this journey, I've just been kind of doing every job as it came and trying to do the best of what I was asked to do. And I realized that, over those past 40 years or so since I graduated from North Hardin, that I didn't do anything by myself. There was a lot of people that helped me along that journey. And so I just want to recognize a few of those people here today. First and foremost, my parents couldn't be here. We just moved them to Florida. They're in assisted living, and I'm back here trying to clean out their house. So if anybody needs furniture, things that we consider junk, but someone just starting out may need it, just let me know. We have a lot of stuff to get rid of. But my parents have really provided that foundation for me to build upon. And although I didn't always live up to some of the standards, they did instill in me the values of hard work, perseverance, and integrity. And that's been guiding me throughout my career. I also want to recognize my wife here today, Charlotte. We've been married over 39 years. And I always like to tell the story of how we met at the University of Kentucky. She followed me across campus in my ROTC uniform. And she's shaking her head back there. And it's a good story, but I'm not going to get into the entire story. But truth be told, I don't think it was me or the uniform. We just happened to be going in the same direction. And a few weeks later, when we actually did meet, that spark kind of sparked, and we've been going in the same direction ever since. So thank you, Charlotte, for all the support over the years, and particularly our 2 children who, while I was serving in the military, going around doing things that Army guys do, she provided that stable environment for our kids, and they've turned into some outstanding young man and woman, and given us some pretty good grandchildren too. So to my teachers, both in school and in life, they really played a pivotal role in shaping, how I was able to accomplish things in life. And I want to just point out 3 of them, and some of you may remember some of them. So the first one is Miss Mabel McCoy. I don't know if you remember Miss McCoy. She taught at North Hardin, and she taught us college prep English. And she was really hard. But I will tell you from the things that I learned from her, college English was a breeze. I breezed through college English at UK. I've never had a redo in any of my military writing assignments. And I used some of the techniques that she taught me in high school, even today, even in my legal writing. So, that foundation was established at North Hardin. The other person I want to recognize, and she passed away earlier this year, and I was sad to hear that, but she lived a good long life. I think she was in her 90s. The other person was my math teacher at North Hardin. Some of you may have known Mr. John Atherton. He taught me algebra and calculus, and he just made it a joy to be in the classroom. He was the guy that taught me that you can solve almost any problem in life with math and logic. And he was among all my teachers, you could really tell he was a good Christian example of what it meant to be a man. So Mr. Atherton, he passed away in 2011. And the last guy I'm going to talk about, Jason's already talked about Mr. Bevers. Mr. Bevers was my coach too. I was a few years ahead of Jason and a few years ahead of that 82 team that did a great job. But he taught me teamwork. You didn't always have to be the star, but you always had to be part of the team. And you know, those lessons that he taught me have stuck with me throughout my entire life. I carried them through my military career, and I carry them to today, because we're all part of a team trying to accomplish the same thing. So, Mr. Bevers, great human being. I want to introduce you to a few of my friends here, because they're classmates of mine from North Hardin. First, there's Alonzo Robinson. You see him here with I guess that's a Pittsburgh Pirate hat on. Alonzo and I met in 5th grade actually on Fort Knox. We went to Scott Elementary School on Fort Knox, and the story he'll tell you that we met actually on the football field. He tried to tackle me, and he couldn't tackle me, and he actually tells the story, I stomped him in his face. And I don't remember that story, but ever since then, we've been very close friends. We've been very close friends. Also, when June Flores and her husband Mike are here today. June and I, again, high school classmates, graduated from North Hardin in 1980, but we actually met again at Fort Knox. You can tell we're military brats. We spent a lot of time at Fort Knox, but we used to bowl together on Saturday morning in the youth bowling league. And I remember her then. She looks the same as she does today. You can pick her out. But June's always been there and been a great friend of mine, both at UK and high school, UK, and in life. So thank you, June, for being here, along with Mike, your husband. There's 2 other guys here who I worked with at Booz Allen when we came here to Fort Knox and we opened up the office several years ago. There's Tom Snyder and his wife, Chris, and also Mike Tharp and his wife, Julie. They were part of the team that we used to grow our business here, and they're 2 very different folks, type of people, but you need that on the team because everybody has something to contribute, and they contribute a lot to our team and our success here at Fort Knox. This last part of it's going to be a little tough for me, so forgive me if I break up a little bit. I also want to acknowledge that each of us being recognized today, for each of us being recognized, there's probably hundreds of other students that need to be recognized. And I just want to tell you a story about one, and it's about my brother. So Jerry is a 1978 graduate of North Hardin, and on the football, he was a mainstay on the defensive line. In the classroom, he was a pretty solid B+ student. He went off to UK and spent the next 6 years going to school and worked as a process server in the Fayette County Sheriff's Department. And that was the beginning of his interest in law enforcement. In 1984, he moved to Washington, D.C. and began his career as a police officer in the Bureau of Engraving and Printing in Washington, D.C. He rose from private through the ranks and even served as the police union representative before being promoted into management ranks. Over the years, Jerry was awarded and rewarded for his outstanding performance, and he eventually served as chief of police at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. And that meant he was commanding all the police force that was responsible for protecting and securing our nation's currency production. He retired in 2016, and he was prepared to start a second career in NFL security. And about that time, I had just moved to Maryland, and he was diagnosed with ALS. And he spent the next 7 years fighting that disease and finally passed away February this year. And I tell you that story for 2 reasons. First, to honor him, and second, to acknowledge that the many outstanding Hardin County students who deserve the recognition as much as we do, which you'll never hear about. So I want to leave you with a Jesuit principle that I've learned a long time ago, and it's carried me throughout my life. And I shared this a few months ago when I was at UK when they honored me with the College of Distinction in College of Engineering. And that is that life has no meaning except for the impact you have on others. So if you ever need help, ask for it. If someone asks for your help, provide it. These simple acts will help you overcome any challenge in life and make life more enjoyable. So thank you, Hardin County Schools, for this honor. I'm truly grateful for this honor, and I will continue to do what I do. So thank you. there's one person I forgot to recognize. Everybody over here know Gina Ryan? Gina was also my classmate in North Hardin, and I meant to have her in my remarks. I skipped over it, but I do want to at least acknowledge her. We met in 8th grade, and at the time they had Radcliffe Elementary, Parkway, Vine Grove, and Rineyville all coming together at James T. Alton in Vine Grove. And I met her then, and she's been a great supporter throughout the years, and I think she probably has a little something to do with why I'm being recognized here today. So I just want to make sure I thank Gina Ryan. So thank you.
You always say 5 minutes, but you never really mean it. All right, our next honoree is Mr. Jeff Key. Come forward, Jeff, please. Jeff Key is an East Hardin High School graduate in 1985. He is currently the Vice President of the United States Healthcare Systems for Vero Biotech. He has also successfully worked for the Medicines Company, Molina Therapeutics, and Lajala Pharmaceutical Company. Mr. Key is the national sales leader with extensive national group purchasing organizations, or GPO, investigation of new drugs experience in healthcare. He has secured GPO contracts with major firms. He has earned National Sales Leader of the Year awards and is known nationally among his peers. His success is renowned in neurointensive, respiratory, critical care arenas of leading hospitals and systems across the country. He has served on the Western Kentucky University Alumni Association Board of Directors. He and his wife, Mary, established a WKU scholarship to help Central Hardin High School graduates attend WKU. The scholarship will soon be a renewable scholarship that supplies full tuition. The Keys have created the Nolan River Wildlife Organization. It educates the community on how to coexist with local wildlife while rehabbing orphaned and injured mammals to return them back to the wild. Countless HCS students visit the Nolan River Wildlife each school year to learn more about the ecosystem, and it's all because of Jeff and Mary Key. Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I was wondering why no one else were putting on glasses, and I thought it was because no one's as old as me, and then I looked at what year you graduated, and I'm like, I have no excuse now, right? But let me just say, and I'll be quick with this, but first of all, I'm very honored and humbled to be here today. But this award has so little to do with me and so much to do with the people that God has put in my life and how much they've meant to me. First of all would be my family. Got an unbelievable family, a wife and 2 daughters that supported me while I traveled all over the place for 30 years doing what I had to do. So thank you, Mary. 2 beautiful sisters, the blonde sitting right here behind her. Just a steadfast and just a bedrock of love for me, and it's always been there. Secondly, Mr. Charles Young, which is not here today, but Mr. Charles Young was my FBLA teacher at East Hardin. Took me under his wing as a freshman, got me involved in FBLA, and no doubt about it, I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for Charles Young and the time he took and the love he showed to me. And thirdly, Mr. Mike Bell, a big part of Hardin County Schools, a huge part of our community, and a man that has just taught me what it means to love unconditionally. Mary, I don't know if you remember this, but when we first got married, we lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. And they didn't even know the Bells. And I told Mary, I said, I want our marriage to emulate this couple, Mike and Sharon Bell, that gave and gave and gave to kids and to children in our community so much, and they've changed so many people's lives. So thank you, Mike Bell. But lastly, to me, it's just about this. It's just about, the bottom line. It's about loving each other. It's about getting involved. And my daddy used to say, do something even if it's wrong, right? So, do something. Get out there and help somebody. And if we all did just this much a day to make where we are a little bit better, think of the impact that we could all have together. I've got to say this. I've got 2 more things to say. Tim Isaacs, I think, has picked up the reins of all of that love and support and guidance that I felt at East Hardin with these kids at Central Hardin High School. He does an amazing job. And make no mistake about it, Tim, this scholarship would not be in place if it wasn't for you. Because I look at what you're doing and I look at the love that you have for the students, and then people just tell me in the community, you know, about you being at Central Hardin, they're like, my gosh, that principal's unbelievable. And I say, yeah, absolutely he is. I know you are, and I just want to say thank you for that. And lastly, beat E-Town. That's it. Oh, you like me better now? Oh, I got a lot more of that.
That's great. I second that motion. Thank you. All right, Ms. Monique Kuykendoll Quarterman. Come on up, Ms. Quarterman. Ms. Quarterman graduated from John Hardin High School in 2007. She has served as the Executive Director of the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, also known as Kentucky Innovation, since 2022. The agency is an arm of the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development that enables a sustainable and active ecosystem for entrepreneurial thinkers throughout the state. Ms. Quarterman formerly served as the inaugural Executive Director for the twice nationally award-winning Kentucky Commercialization Ventures Initiative and as a co-investigator to the Kentucky Network for Innovation and Commercialization. She co-founded the Kentucky Intellectual Property Alliance and is a Louisville-based entrepreneur. She is a graduate of the University of Louisville College of Business, where she earned her Master's of Business Administration degree. Ms. Quarterman credits her time as Vice President for the John Hardin High School National FFA Organization chapter under her faculty advisor, Mr. Mason Crawford, as her inspiration for her innovation career. Please help me welcome Ms. Monique Kuykendoll Quarterman.
Hello, and thank you, everyone. I brought a timer just in case because I trust John that we got to keep things going. Truly, for those of you who have heard me talk across the Commonwealth before, I like to start with gratitude. It's something that I typically stick to, and so I want to show some gratitude first for anyone in the room who has served our armed forces. First, let me say thank you. Thank you. If you've served the armed forces, can you raise your hand? And we congratulate and thank you. Thank you. Thank you. For all the teachers and administrators in the room, can you please raise your hand? Thank you. Can we have a round of applause? Thank you. I like to start with gratitude specifically because it's something that has been instilled within my family. I'm so fortunate to be raised in a environment and culture of service. My dad served the U.S. Army for over 20 years and then retired the second time civil service to U.S. Army. My mom has been civil service to the U.S. Army for her entire life. My brother was U.S. Army and now serves as a police officer. I'm so fortunate to come from a background of service, and I'm grateful for them as well. And even today, I'm surrounded in a culture of service, right? I look at my friend Steve Smith here, who leads the Entrepreneurship Center for Elizabethtown, beautiful facility, but giving our young people a place to build and start their businesses that create that generational wealth. I look to my best friend, Dr. Jira Vega-Velez, who serves military armed forces as a VA physician. So grateful to her and grateful to her service. Grateful for Kayla Meisner. Kayla Meisner I have known since our undergrad days, but now leads commercialization for 22 universities across the Commonwealth of Kentucky, giving them access, including Elizabethtown Community and Technical College and WKU. So if people ask me, do you root for UK or U of L? I go, I root for Kayla and all of her 22. And also my good friend and Councilwoman Michelle, just thank you so much for being here. And we are grateful for your service as well. You know, I watched I did my homework, John, and I watched the YouTube videos of previous alumni. And Dr. Ralston from University of Louisville's College of Engineering talked about the importance of investment, right? And that resonated with me. I'm so fortunate to serve as Executive Director for Entrepreneurship and Innovation for our Commonwealth, working for Governor Beshear and Lieutenant Governor Coleman, and also working for the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development. We have had wonderful investment in this state, wonderful investment in this county and region. I'm so excited to share, we celebrate the first and second best economic development years in our state's history, including an $117 million investment into small business owners in Kentucky, the single largest investment in our state's history. Can we celebrate that a little bit? So where does it come from? Where does this wonderful momentum come from? In thinking about, my past, present, future, and time at Hardin County Schools, it comes from a culture of service, right? We're so fortunate to live in a community that gets service and that appreciates and honors service. And our teachers instill that in us, and they have character. They are wonderful people that love us with everything they have beyond their job, beyond their paycheck, beyond the 24 hours in the day. And that makes a difference. It makes a difference in students like me. It makes a difference in the students that we passed. It makes a difference in the students that served us today. When you pull it all together and you think about service from the big picture, it's possible everywhere, but it is special right here in Hardin County. I think to Ms. Spalding, who I'm also lost to ALS, and when I first met Ms. Spalding, she made me laugh because she said, "Kuykendoll, are you Randy Kuykendoll's sister?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." She goes, "Such a lazy boy." And I died laughing. And then she taught me, "Monique, one of these days you're gonna use that big sexy voice." And man, was she right. I didn't see it in myself, but she saw it in me. And then I met Mason Crawford, who at the time, I didn't know I was gonna be a future farmer of America, but I embraced it. Why? Because he saw leadership qualities in me, and he began to farm that opportunity mindset and that belief in myself in me. And that was a reflection of his service. And I even think about Heritage International Christian Church. Hardin County has beautiful church community here. And you know what that taught me? Service with God, right? That idea that if God is for me, who can be against me, right? So no matter what we go through in our lives, because we all experience hardship, we all experience hard times. I might have had too good of a time in college, right? But I turned around and had some hard time after that, right? And to have a community that is ready with not only people that have good character, not only people that understand investment, especially investment in youth, but people that are ready and willing and understand and honor service. That is why we stand here today. And so for my colleagues, my co-students that are not here today, please allow me to extend their thank you to all of you. I especially think of Paul Denham and Rico Clayton, who unfortunately didn't get to make it as far as I did, but I carry them with me. And I carry them with me because the service that you poured into them is the same service that you poured into me and that you poured into so many others. And I hope it continues to grow this Commonwealth to be the best state that it could be and the best nation that it can be. Truly, thank you.
This is definitely one of my favorite events of the year because it is truly humbling to come together and see the talent in this room. My mother, and I didn't understand it at the time, always said, "Birds of a feather flock together. Be careful who you flock with." And so I ask those of you who are distinguished alumni, if you know others that we need to recognize, like Mr. Holloway spoke of his brother, please let us know that, because we are here in Hardin County and we sometimes don't understand the ripple effects that our school system has caused. We know the success of many. Please share those with us. We have great work ethic standards here in Hardin County. We call it the Great 8. And those are taught in our classrooms. And as much as we would like to say that every child leaves from home learning about giving back to the community, about working hard, about showing up on time, sometimes that does not always happen. And so we have implemented the grade 8 standards here within Hardin County, and we actually start teaching those in kindergarten so that our students, when they leave here, they can say, you know, that was taught to me. And hopefully they will carry that beyond the walls of Hardin County schools, as you all have set the example for. Since we announced this year's honorees, I have to tell you, we occasionally have emails that go back and forth amongst the board, and they shared, wow, what a tremendous group of people. And we might not want others to hear this, but they go, I think this might be our best group ever. So congratulations in getting that award, although not official, as your awards that you have. I want you to look around the room and see the effects that these people have had. But it goes back to that classroom and the great things happening in Hardin County schools. I assure you that every day, the same teachers that were pouring into you, we have teachers pouring into our young people. We have them who are dedicated. Yes, things have changed a little bit in the classroom. You can walk through, as John said, the center to see the ways that we are going about creating successful students, giving them work experiences that will hopefully get them over that threshold to do great things upon graduation. Before we depart, let me again say a huge thank you to our students of the Culinary Arts Program. You were their first adventure, and so we appreciate their hard work and dedication. And again, that's part of our project-based learning. What better way than to come and prepare a meal and then serve it to the very special people in this room. And they all shared with me ahead of time, I'm really nervous. So if you will, give them a round of applause. It doesn't matter what job title you have. This year's honorees have emerged and become distinguished alums because of their determination and drive. We thank you for that. We thank you for the example that you set. We appreciate everyone attending today. Please know you are welcome to stay around. I realize some of you have driven from Mercer County and different parts of the state. Some of you travel all the time. But please feel free, if you would like a tour of our Early College and Career Center, stick around. We would be happy to showcase this to you. And we just thank you for being here. We thank you for your words of wisdom that you have shared with us and the appreciation for the faculty and staff of our school district. And just know we will continue to do great things. We hear about a tradition of excellence, and I've taken the motto of we have excellence over tradition. So we appreciate you all. Thank you for being here and being part of that excellence. Have a great day.